Tony Stark was in hot water. A federal summons landed on his doorstep, demanding that he hand over every last piece of biometric data tied to the Iron Man program. Put simply, the US government was preparing to shut him down and strip him of the suit, once and for all. Why? The reason was embarrassingly simple. Tony had relapsed. Convinced the world was spiraling toward collapse, he broke his sobriety in a desperate attempt to call out to powers greater than himself. Now, officials wanted to prove he was unfit for duty by subpoenaing medical and biological records that could confirm his fall. But when Tony showed up at the federal building, things didn't go quite as the government expected. "I was told to bring some documentation," he said with that familiar smirk, striding in with nothing more than a small cardboard box under his arm. "Mr. Stark, thank you for complying," an agent greeted, reaching for the supposed evidence. Tony dropped the box onto the desk, still grinning. "Yeah, about that. I thought you could use this to wedge the door open. The real stuff's outside." The official stepped out to find convoys waiting, 19 semi-trucks, each stuffed to the brim with files and boxes. Somewhere in that mountain of paper was the proof they wanted, but they would have to comb through all of it to find the needle. Tony buried in the haystack. "That's at least 1,000 boxes per truck," Tony teased as he tightened his armor and lifted off. "Remember, lift with your back." Meanwhile, half a world away, the Mandarin was hosting a meeting with his newest operatives. "Melter, you've been summoned," one of the men told a nervous young recruit. The boy glanced down at the surgical scars etched into his arm. "They cut me open, put things inside, gave me control," he muttered before demonstrating, liquefying a coffee mug between his hands. "Blizzard." One of the Mandarin's lieutenants leaned in with a warning. "Don't forget, they put fail-safes inside all of us. Cross the line, and those bombs go off." The Melter lowered his gaze. "Did I mess up? I haven't done anything yet. But I feel like I already failed." The Mandarin's advisor placed a firm hand on his shoulder. "That's exactly what worries us. Before you go out there, I need to know. Are we good?" The boy straightened, his expression sharpening. "You want to know the difference between me and all the others you've sent against Iron Man? He's never laid a finger on me. Not once." Back in his workshop, Tony and James Rhodey Rhodes were killing time over a chessboard. "This actually fun for you?" Rhodey asked as Tony leaned forward, studying the pieces. "It keeps me thinking in the right direction," Tony replied. "It's not just chess, it's practice. There's a brutal, high-stakes game going on all around us, and I only just noticed. So now it's time we start figuring out how to win." The next day, new problems arrived. Two government officers, sent courtesy of Justine Hammer, barged into Stark's office. "Let's skip the formalities, Stark. You relapsed, we know it, you know it. And the proof we need is sitting in one of those trucks you dumped on us." Tony sighed. "Oh, hell. By this afternoon, a court order will crush you. One official threat. Your company will be under government control, and you'll never so much as drive your own car again. Unless, of course, you agree to wear this." He held up a sleek silver band. Tony eyed it suspiciously. "What is that supposed to be?" "Your leash," the officer explained. "Think of it as a cutting-edge breathalyzer. It hooks into your armor's systems, giving us veto power over your choices. You step out of line, it shuts you down." Tony jabbed a finger toward them, fury in his voice. "I'm not letting the Pentagon, Hammer, or anyone else decide when I can be Iron Man. Not now, not ever." But deep down, he knew they had him cornered. Later, slumping in his chair, he muttered to Pepper, "I don't want anyone to see me do this." For the first time, his pride bowed under the weight of compromise. Days later, an emergency report from Los Angeles pulled him back into the field. Tony swooped in, quickly identifying the source. "Whirlwind. Haven't seen you in a while," Tony called as the villain unleashed a storm of razor-sharp gusts. The two clashed violently, Iron Man barely holding his own against Whirlwind's upgraded gear. Elsewhere downtown, the Melter received orders to begin his mission. "Got it. I'll start with this guy's car," he radioed, liquefying the tires of a parked sedan. The furious owner stormed out, pointing directly at him. "I saw that. You wrecked my car." Exposed, the Melter escalated, lifting the entire vehicle above the street, threatening to hurl it down on bystanders below. Tony wasn't doing much better. Another cyclone blast nearly ripped through his armor. He fired a repulsor beam, but Whirlwind evaded easily. "Rhodey, you're up," Tony whispered through his comms. Far away, the Mandarin raised a hand to silence his aides, his eyes fixed on a live feed. "Wait, I want to see this." Whirlwind suddenly pulled back, darting into the sky. "Oh, no you don't," Tony growled, blasting his thrusters to pursue. but as he launched forward, his system sputtered. The flight boosters failed, his armor began peeling itself apart mid-air. It hit him instantly. The band, the government's override device, was cutting him off. A chilling voice came through his earpiece. "Mr. Stark, this is Justine Hammer," she said smoothly. Tony's stomach dropped. "No. No. No. We've been monitoring your activities in Los Angeles," Hammer continued, "and we've decided to enforce a mandatory cooldown period, rather than let you chase your opponents." Tony remained grounded, fists clenched in fury, watching Whirlwind vanish into the distance. His greatest weapon had just been turned against him. War Machine dropped into the fray, landing in front of the Melter, without realizing just how badly the odds were stacked against him. "That's far enough," Rhodey barked, his weapons primed and glowing. The young villain sneered and began ramping up his searing powers in response. "Rhodey." Tony's voice crackled through the comms, laced with urgency. "We've got a situation. What's going on? I strapped on that governor they gave me, and now it won't let me access the suit." Tony admitted, sprinting toward a waiting car. "You did what?" Rhodey shouted in disbelief. While his best friend was in the air fighting for his life, Tony was practically defenseless, scrambling over a fence and landing awkwardly on the scorching desert sand. "Just hold him off," he pleaded into the comms. "And if it gets too hot, don't stick around." The Melter unleashed bursts of molten energy, forcing War Machine to weave and dodge under heavy fire. Rhodey toggled his stealth systems, vanishing into a shimmer of light. "Where'd he go?" the Melter muttered, scanning wildly. He never saw Rhodey reappear behind him. One crushing swing from the armored fist sent the boy sprawling, clutching his head. Elsewhere, Pepper Potts was slipping into her own armor for the first time in years. "It feels like forever since we done this," JR remarked as her rescue suit powered up. "I know what I can do," Pepper said, steadying her nerves. "I just don't know if I want to do it again." A pause. Only one way to find out. With that, she launched into the skies toward Los Angeles. While Tony and Pepper raced to catch up, three powerful figures savored their apparent victory. Justine Hammer, Ezekiel Stain, and the Mandarin all shared a smug sense of satisfaction. "Even if Potts joins the battle," Hammer noted, "we still have 3 enhanced operatives in the field. I'll take those odds any day." Back in the fight, the Melter staggered to his feet, blood running down his temple where Rhodey had struck him. "You really clocked me," he muttered groggily. "Think I need a doctor." But his dazed tone turned to fury as he lashed out again, melting clean through War Machine's armored arm. Rhodey's alarm screamed in his ears as he spun to respond, only to be blindsided. "Die, pit!" Whirlwind roared, hammering him under a collapsing avalanche of stone and debris. "About time you showed up," the Melter grumbled, clutching his head. "Guy gave me a concussion." Whirlwind wasn't interested in complaints. His focus was locked on burying Rhodey for good. "Don't you get it yet? We're everywhere, and your golden boy can't save you now." Meanwhile, Tony's car sped through the chaotic streets, weaving through traffic. In the passenger seat, he gritted his teeth, prying at the governor embedded in his chest with a screwdriver. "Come on, come on," sparks erupted from his arc reactor. As the lock resisted, Tony recoiled in pain. "It's rigged, some kind of electromagnetic trap. It's not coming off." Back at the battlefield, Rhodey fought with sheer grit, blasting his way out of the rubble. His shoulder cannon roared, shredding Whirlwind's concentration and sending him tumbling. "Get some," Rhodey bellowed, charging through the wreckage. With his remaining good arm, he plowed into Whirlwind and knocked him flat. "You clowns are all the same," he snarled, firing off a repulsor blast that staggered the Melter. "Weak then, weak now." Another blast clipped Whirlwind as he tried to retreat skyward. "Sit down, stay down." Closing in on the Melter again, Rhodey swung with bone-rattling force, dropping the boy hard. But before he could finish the fight, a beam of violet energy streaked down from the heavens. In a flash, a figure materialized and drove a brutal strike into War Machine's chest, sending him crashing to his knees. "Recognize me," the newcomer taunted, his body glowing with lethal light. "The living laser. Now let's see who's tough." The Melter, regaining some balance, drove a knee into Rhodey's jaw, compounding the damage. Bruised and bleeding, War Machine still found the strength to mock them. "This the best you've got? Pathetic." "Shut up," the Melter roared, blasting through what was left of his chest plate. Hovering above, the living laser turned to his allies. "Whirlwind, step back. I'll finish this." But just before the killing blow, a voice rang out. Rescue streaked through the sky, Pepper's scream echoing, as she watched the living laser drive his blazing fist through the weakened armor and into Rhodey's chest. His body went limp, the arc reactor flickering. "We did it," the melter cried, ecstatic. "We killed him. We killed a hero." Whirlwind scooped him up, spiriting the boy away, while living laser ascended after them. Pepper dropped to the ground, her voice breaking as she cradled the fallen war machine. Hold on, Rhodey." Tony's car skidded to a halt, and he bolted out, his heart dropping at the sight. No, 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 he gasped, collapsing beside his friend. Pepper covered her mouth, eyes wide in horror. "I was too late," she whispered. Tony tried chest compressions, desperate to revive him, but stopped after a few futile attempts. Standing over the body, his voice was ragged. "Nobody touches him. Do you hear me? Nobody." Meanwhile, far from the chaos, the villains reported their triumph. "War machines down. Half of Los Angeles is wrecked," Living Laser told Stain, expecting applause. But Stain was preoccupied, gesturing toward a monstrous machine nearby. "Great, fine. Tell Mandarin later. More important, I finally finished the walking squid tank nightmare he's been pestering me about." Back at the scene, Tony sat in an ambulance beside Rhodey's covered body. His grief was raw, until a muffled voice broke the silence. Rhodey's weak tone, carried from beneath the blankets. One of the medics leaned over. "Colonel Rhodes, you're in the clear now, out of sight of cameras." Rhodey peeled back the sheets, revealing himself alive but unconscious, his chest strapped with a glowing high-tech vest. The device hummed and pulsed, keeping his damaged heart beating. "What do you even call this thing?" Rhodey asked faintly. "Stark Life Vest," Tony replied, forcing a shaky grin. "Amazing," Rhodey whispered, marveling at the tech that had saved him. "Welcome to being dead," Tony quipped softly. "But let's keep this between us. We're not telling your mom." "Yeah, I know," Rhodey murmured, knowing the villains needed to believe their mission was a success. Tony reached out, gripping his friend's hand. "I'm going to need your help with this. I can't do it alone." Rhodey's answer was firm, despite the weakness in his voice. "I'm in. Always." "Good," Tony muttered with relief. "Just like we talked about. It's checkmate. They think they've got me under their thumb, drunk, docile, controlled. You, dead. Pepper, humiliated." Rhodey looked up at him, disbelief cutting across his face. "So, how do we fight back?" Tony shook his head. "We don't. Checkmate means the game's over." Still, he couldn't help but let a smile flicker. They won that round, but they're not ready for what comes next. Days later, another ghost from Tony's past resurfaced. In North Carolina, with a reconstructed face and brand new tech, the villain Firebrand taunted, "Welcome to hell." This Firebrand wasn't like the old one. Her suit was upgraded with weapons far deadlier, and her flames burned hotter than ever. She scorched buildings, melted steel, and tore through everything she touched. Iron Man stayed on her tail, weaving through smoke and collapsing debris, but she was too fast. It wasn't until a lucky repulsor blast clipped her mid-flight that she came crashing down into the hood of a car, the impact sending glass and metal flying. "Shut it down and surrender," Iron Man barked, training his weapons, but Firebrand wasn't done. "Idiot. You think I came alone?" From behind Tony, heavy footsteps echoed. Crimson Dynamo, clad in upgraded crimson armor, stepped forward, her fists glowing. "Tony Stark," she sneered. "Honestly, you're underwhelming." Tony didn't wait. He launched forward, slamming into Dynamo with a double uppercut that sent her crashing into another parked car. "Ladies, stay down. Don't make me say it twice." He primed his repulsor cannon, ready for either to test him. But then, without warning, Tony's HUD flickered. His suit began shutting down, not at his command. "No. Damn it. Hammer, not now," he yelled, panic hitting as the armor stripped itself piece by piece. The skies darkened with shadows, massive drones descending, weapons trained, their voices boomed in cold unison. "Stand down, or face the Detroit Steel Corps." "You have no authority," Tony shouted, but gunfire drowned out his protest. Streets erupted in fire and chaos as bullets shredded the air. Helpless, stripped of protection, Tony barely survived the blast. The drones then turned on Firebrand and Dynamo, mercilessly injuring them, before hauling their bodies away. Tony could do nothing but watch. Later, at Avengers Mansion, the fallout came hard. Captain America and Ms. Marvel waited for him, neither hiding their anger. "Good to see you too," Tony quipped, trying to break the ice. "Got any leads?" "Leads?" Steve's voice was thunder. Try disaster. That's your lead. Unmitigated disaster. Carol added, her hand firm on Tony's shoulder. Tony, let us help you. Tony stood, face hardening. Go to hell. Steve followed. Hey, Tony spun and threw a punch. Steve caught it without flinching. He blocked a second just as easily, the two staring each other down. Cap, Tony said coldly. I'm taking a leave of absence. From the team. Don't wait up. Far away, in a hidden lab, Ezekiel Stain worked feverishly. Sasha Hammer, one of his top pilots, leaned against a bench. How tight are our systems? Locked down. 100%, he assured her. So, when do you pull the trigger? Stain frowned. It's not that simple. There's interference. He's in my head, Sasha. He hit me with one of those cursed rings. Now I can hear him. Sasha smirked. Then here's a question for you, genius. How do you plan to kick him out? Later that night, Stain unveiled his newest project to the Mandarin, a colossal drone, built from the villain's own schematics. Is it ready? The Mandarin asked, eyes gleaming. It's close. Work in progress, Stain replied nervously as he powered it on. The machine rose from its cradle, hulking and menacing. Sparks illuminated its armored frame. Magnificent, the Mandarin howled with glee. Now move it. Show me. Yes, Stain stammered, fumbling with the controls. The Mandarin's excitement bordered on madness. This is greatness itself. But suddenly, alarms blared. Sparks spat from the drone's joints, the controls failing in Stain's hands. Uh-oh. The machine lurched, toppling its containment walls. Systems fried, metal screeched, and the Mandarin's dreams collapsed in an instant. No, no, the Mandarin roared. His fury boiled over as he struck Stain again and again, blood smearing across the lab floor. Elsewhere, in a quiet home, two men shared dinner, joking about diets and their days. Then a text arrived. One partner glanced at the screen, and his expression turned ice cold. The other picked up the phone. It's time, he read aloud. From Justine Hammer? Why is she texting you? The first man stood silently, walking to the kitchen. He picked up a knife. His voice cracked with strange sincerity. I really did love you. That's why I'll make it quick. The blade struck again and again, blood soaking the room. When the body fell, the killer peeled off his face, revealing the spy master's combat mask and armored suit. Back in Washington, General Babbage fumed in his office. His aide stammered at the door. Sir, I spit it out, the general bellowed, until his words froze. Tony Stark stepped in, calm and uninvited. She was talking to me, General. You Stark, I swear. I know, Tony cut him off. You'd love to lock me away forever, just because I irritate you. Save the speech. I'm here for one reason. The general blinked. And that is? Tony's smirk vanished. I quit. Effective. Immediately. No more Iron Man. On that day, Tony Stark surrendered the board. The game ended in defeat. But the next chapter, that belongs to Peter Parker.